consumers will be spending more money greater than ever because of the massive taxation or tariffs that President Trump has imposed through executive orders. Tyrone Bowman live. In an article written by Elizabeth Buchwald for CNN, this is what the headline says. Here's what could soon cost you a lot more because of Trump's massive tariffs. So let's get down to it. For the first time since Trump's return to the Oval Office, it's not a question of what could get more expensive due to tariffs or taxations, but rather a matter of when. And the short answer to what could get expensive is, well, everything. Assuming Trump proceeds with the plans he laid out on Wednesday, and he has said there is no room for negotiation, only certain goods from Mexico and Canada have a shot at avoiding any tariffs or taxes. Otherwise, all countries' goods will be subject to a minimum 10% taxation or tariff. With rates going much higher for 60 countries, the administration deems the worst offenders in terms of trade barriers. At the very top of that list is China. Come April 9, the U.S. will impose a 54% tariff on nearly everything coming from China, and rates go even higher to 79% if Trump follows through with his promise to slap an additional 25% tariff on any nation that buys oil from Venezuela, which China has done. It's ironic because the Bibles that Trump has been selling, they're made in China. So that means that there'll be higher tariffs on the Bibles as well? Could be. Never know. All right, let's finish this article here. Then starting on May 2nd, the 54% tariff rate will also be applied to packages worth less than $800 coming to the U.S. from China and Hong Kong. Think Shein, Temu, and AliExpress. In total, the average American household will pay $2,100 more per year for goods because of the tariffs or the taxes, the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation estimated. The United States imported $439 billion worth of goods from China last year, the second top source of imports behind Mexico. Among the others, worst offenders that the U.S. relies heavily on for imported goods are Vietnam, which will face an across-the-board 46% tariff, and Taiwan, which will be subject to a 32% tariff or taxation rate. Vietnam was the sixth top source of goods the U.S. imported last year, and Taiwan was the eighth, according to U.S. Census Bureau data. Since tariffs are a tax on imported goods, it's American businesses that will have to foot the bill initially when goods from these countries reach the United States. But it's not always the case that businesses fully pass along the additional costs they're responsible for. In some cases, they may have contracts set in advance with wholesale consumers requiring them to sell them at a given price. Or they may opt to keep prices lower relative to the additional costs they face in order to keep consumers. Even if more production shifts to the United States, where Trump has repeatedly said tariffs are zero, it can cost more to produce the same goods that were purchased from abroad, which could lead to price hikes. Having said that, here's what has the potential to get most expensive from the new round of tariffs. China, Vietnam, and Taiwan were the top three foreign suppliers of laptops and tablets to the U.S. last year, shipping a total of $400.2 billion worth, according to federal trade data. Almost all consumer electronics, including smartphones and computer monitors, are likely to see price increases. Additionally, since the United States relies heavily on Taiwan for semiconductors, U.S. consumers are likely to see a price hike on laptops, cars, household appliances, medical devices, Wi-Fi routers, and LED light bulbs. And these products often don't just require one or two chips. New cars contain thousands of them. Trump floated a separate 25% semiconductor tariff, but a fact sheet the White House put out on Wednesday said such tariffs won't come up on top of the reciprocal tariffs that were announced, whatever that means. And Brezettois, Vice President for International Trade at the Consumer Technology Association, told CNN it will likely take 3 to 4 months for current retail inventories to dry up, at which point consumers could start to see prices go up just in time for the back-to-school shopping season and the holidays. Newsflash: everything is already out of control. What do you mean they can wait? They're not waiting. Prices are outrageous wherever you go. Things cost 3, 4 times, and 10 times higher than they did before. The average family, when they're going shopping, they're spending more money they could ever dream of. China and Vietnam shipped a combined $18.5 billion worth of shoes to the U.S. last year. That's nearly 70% of all shoes the U.S. imported. China and Vietnam were the top 2 sources of foreign toys sent to the United States last year, shipping a total of $15 billion worth. The Toy Association estimates that 77% of all toys sold in the U.S. are manufactured in China alone. It's just not an industry that is built to be able to manage through a tariff of that magnitude. Greg Ahem, President and CEO of the trade group, told CNN, referring to the soon-to-be 54% tariff on Chinese goods. American consumers, he said, likely won't start seeing higher prices until late summer, when new products are typically rolled out ahead of the back-to-school period and shipped along with stable toys. Because the profit margin on toys tend to be fairly slim, toy companies have little ability to absorb much of the higher costs from tariffs, he said, all the more so with 54% tariffs or taxation. Toys made in China that are sold in the U.S., he estimates, will cost consumers at least 30% more than they currently do. All right, let's look at this. Check this photo out. I'm going to show you a photo of a Vietnamese garment factory workers as they stitch apparel at a factory in Ho Chi Minh City on April 3rd of 2025. See that? Let me leave it up there for a minute. What I'm talking about may sound boring to some people, but it won't be boring when you go to the store and you see everything that I'm talking about now come into effect. You'll be like, you know what? I should have listened to the black man. I wasn't paying the black man no mind. Well, you better learn to listen whether you like me or not. It doesn't matter. If it's good news, if it's relevant news, if it's going to help you to prepare, to become wiser with your money, learn to listen to wisdom when you hear it. If you want a sense of just how much apparel the U.S. imports, look no further than the tags on your clothing. If you're seeing a lot of China and Vietnam printed, rest assured you're not alone. Both shipped about $14 billion worth of apparel to the U.S. last year, the 2 top sources of foreign-made clothes. On top of which, other top sources of foreign apparel, Bangladesh, India, Indonesia, and Cambodia, are also being hit with reciprocal tariffs ranging from 26 to 49%. The Trump tariffs have a substantial impact on the fashion industry. Stephen Guazins, a spokesperson for the U.S. Fashion Industry Association, told CNN. Guanzins didn't provide CNN with estimates on how much more Americans could stand to pay for clothing. Tyrone Bowman, never surrender, never quit.